The war in Ukraine has entered a whole new level. Instead of tanks rolling in or heavy artillery firing constantly, the outcome of battles is now being shaped by small drones that fly quietly through the sky. Both Russia and Ukraine use thousands of these drones for spying and for attacking, but Ukraine has gone even further, using this drone technology not only on the front line, but also deep into Russian land where they are causing serious damage. These drones, especially the small ones with 4 rotors called quadcopters, are not just used to watch enemy movements. Now they are used to hit important targets and damage key systems. In the past few months, the airspace over Moscow has seen these drones almost every day. They go after oil refineries, power systems, and military buildings. And they do real damage with fire and explosions. This has made it clear that no place in Russia is fully safe anymore. One of the most important recent drone operations by Ukraine sent a powerful message. They hit the only factory in Russia that makes the cables needed for guiding combat drones. This attack not only shut down that factory's production line, it also made people start questioning how strong and prepared Russia's defense system really is. Now everyone wants to know what this means. How will Ukraine's new way of fighting affect how long Russia can keep up the war? Can these quiet flying machines really change how the whole war plays out in the long run? To answer these questions and to explain more, let's begin by looking at what just happened in Russia. Ukrainian drones launched an attack on the optic fiber systems plant in Saransk. This factory used to be partly owned by the Russian state nanotechnology group called Rosnano. It's important because it makes special fiber optic cables used in military drones, and it is the only place in all of Russia that does this job. The attack happened around 2:20 a.m. local time. People living nearby heard about 10 explosions and saw drones flying low through the night. According to the first reports, Ukraine used PD-2 unmanned aerial vehicles in this mission. As of 2024, the optic fiber systems company was still bringing in important parts from other countries to try and create a local version of what they used to get from the West. They were ordering Chinese-made preforms, coatings, and chemical hardeners. Their products are mostly used by companies that build fighter jets for the Russian military. The factory had 6 production lines and could make about 2,000 kilometers of fiber each day on each line. That means the whole factory could make 12,000 kilometers daily and about 4 million kilometers in 1 year. To do this, they used machines from Austria and systems from China, including parts from a company called Vakri. Since this is the only company in Russia that makes fiber optic cables for drones, hitting this target could really hurt Russia's ability to keep using these drones on the battlefield. The damage could slow down or even stop the supply of cable needed for FPV drones, which Russia is currently using a lot in its attacks. Based on videos and other proof, an OSINT project has shown that between November 2024 and April 2025, over 200 KVN-type drones were used in attacks, and they were controlled by fiber optic cables. These drones were mostly used against soldiers, but nobody knows the full number of attacks. In September 2024, Alexei Chadaev, the head of the Ushkoy Research Center that built the KVN drone, said that the drone had been used around 1,000 times, but in 1 out of every 10 launches, the cable broke. This means that about 10 to 20% of the drones didn't make it to their targets. By the start of 2025, 100 military teams were trained to use KVN drones, and back in November 2024, the company Ushkoy got funding from the Ministry of Industry and Trade as part of a contest to set up drone centers in different areas. They were awarded around 500 million rubles to keep working on this project. Both KVN and Hortensia fiber optic drones were shown to the public at the Army 2024 event. KVN drones are made to attack tanks, radar equipment, electronic systems, and strong defense spots. Chadaev also said that the Hortensia drone, made by a design group with the same name, can fire an RPG-26 that locks onto its target automatically before launch. The makers of this drone said it can avoid being jammed by Ukrainian defense systems, but there is no solid proof that this drone has been used in battle. In that way, the only real examples show the drone being used in the usual setup, where an explosive is just attached to the body of the drone. Russia also uses another kind of FPV drone called Piranha. These are made by engineers in a city called Olanovsk and can carry up to 4.5 kilograms of explosives. Right now, Russia is making about 50,000 drones with fiber optic controls every month, and they want to make even more. Experts say that if Russia increases this number, they will need as much as 6 million kilometers of fiber every year. That's a third of their whole yearly production right now. At the same time, Russia is bringing in less fiber optic cable from other countries. New customs reports show that only $28 million worth was imported recently, which is almost half of what they brought in the year before. In 2023, Russia made around 4.45 million kilometers of fiber by using a mix of their own materials and Chinese products. Back in 2011, the Optic Fiber Systems company made a deal with a Finnish equipment company called Nexrom Oy, which helped them build the factory. Until 2021, they were still getting parts from Finland, Germany, and Japan. But after the war started, they switched completely to Chinese suppliers. The Saransk plant is now the only place in Russia using Nexrom's special furnaces. It has 3 tall towers and 6 lines for making fiber. Each line can make 2,000 kilometers per day, but the real output is much lower. In 2021, the factory produced 2.5 million kilometers of fiber, and since then, that number has gone up and down between 1 and 2 million kilometers every year. Russian companies only make about a quarter of the total fiber that is needed inside the country. The rest has to be brought in or made by cutting and combining foreign cables. In 2023, President Putin gave an order to make a full production cycle for this industry, but no independent factory has started making preforms yet. Optic Fiber Systems said in 2023 that it had made plans and documents for such a project. Other companies like Rost and Schwaber JSC also made similar promises, but nothing has been officially started so far. Even though this company is very important, it does not operate in a very open way. They have not shared any financial details since 2021, and they are not currently on any international sanctions lists. Some of their past owners include Rosnano, the Republic of Mordovia, and companies believed to have links with Gazprom Bank. The company says that it made 1.1 million kilometers of fiber using preforms in 2024, and that most of those preforms were imported. By 2023, it was the only company in Russia making real fiber optic material. That year, Russia imported $7.5 million worth of quartz preforms, and since each kilogram costs about $86, this could make around 2.7 million kilometers of fiber. Besides preforms, the company also brings in other materials like epoxy acrylates and systems that use UV light for curing the fiber. The customs records show that these items were imported clearly and directly, without using fake companies or middlemen. In total, Russia used about 4.5 million kilometers of fiber in the last year, during an online meeting held by the company. It was stated that local production covered somewhere between 25 to 50% of that demand. Military expert Leonid Dmitriev said that even though the outside damage from the recent drone strike seemed small, the effects could be serious and long-lasting. He explained that areas like cleanrooms and precise tools that need to be calibrated down to 0.4 micrometers might have been affected, and this could slow down or even stop production for a while. Dmitriev said it would take time to get everything working normally again. Russian news said the attack wouldn't affect drone supplies to the battlefield, but admitted that it would take several months to fix the factory. Videos and pictures from the area show some damage to the outer walls of the building, but there didn't seem to be any fire inside. One of the drones hit a stairwell and a hallway, and the most important equipment in the center of the building was not hit. Experts say that fixing the damage and restarting part of the factory could take about 1 month. Even so, drone deliveries to the front are expected to continue as usual. This is because most drone makers in Russia are not officially part of the Ministry of Defense, and many of them get their fiber optic cable from China. The Saransk plant mostly works with other types of clients and doesn't supply smaller drone companies directly. So, how does fiber optic technology work? It's based on a science idea called total internal reflection. Inside the cable is a very thin strand of glass made from quartz. This part has a higher refractive index than the outer layer. When light enters the cable at the right angle, it bounces back and forth inside the core and stays inside without escaping. After passing all quality checks, the finished fiber is either sent to companies that make full cables or it is used by itself for high-tech systems. From all of this, it's clear that Ukraine hit a very important part of Russia's drone program. And this wasn't the first time that Ukraine attacked a key military target in Russia, and it won't be the last. On the same day, Ukrainian forces also carried out an air attack on Promisintizes, one of the largest places in Russia where explosives are made. The warning sirens were heard during the night when drones were seen moving through the sky in that area. Not long after that, explosions went off nearby. Russian social media accounts started sharing videos showing the blasts and the work of air defense systems. People living close by said they could smell gunpowder after the explosions ended. The governor of Samara, Vyacheslav Fedorishov, said that drones had hit a business in the city of Chapai, where more than 20 explosions happened and fires broke out at the plant. Because of the attack, the plant's managers had to stop all their processes. Satellite images were shared online, showing low-quality photos that confirmed at least 3 parts of the factory were hit. And there was a fire that spread along a barrier built around the buildings. Promisintizes is located in Chapaivke, in the Samara region. The company that runs it today is the legal follow-up to the Samara Sugvsky explosives plant. It was created in 1997. Open sources say that this factory is now one of the biggest makers of industrial explosives in both Russia and nearby countries in the Commonwealth of Independent States. They also sell products to mining companies and metal factories in different countries. The factory is huge, with 13 production buildings spread across 190 hectares of land. Their systems are mostly automated, and for dangerous tasks, no people are directly involved. Altogether, about 1,300 people work there. The plant makes many types of explosives, and it is also known to make TNT, which is a key part of regular ammunition used in war. It's also known that in July 2023, an explosion at this plant killed 6 workers, and in March of that year, there was a report of the first drone strike against this site. These strikes show that Russia's air defense is not fully ready to stop drone attacks, but both Russia and Ukraine are doing their best to come up with strong ways to defend against this kind of weapon. The most common method is to use jammers. These send out powerful signals on the same frequency as the drone's controller, which breaks the connection and causes the drone to crash or stop working. It is believed that around 75% of small drones are lost or destroyed in this way. To fight back against these jammers, a brand new kind of FPV drone started showing up on the battlefield last year. These drones are not controlled by radio waves anymore. Instead, they use thin fiber optic cables that stretch all the way from the pilot to the drone. Because they are not relying on radio signals, these drones cannot be jammed. The first time this kind of drone was used, it came from the Russian side. People say that these were Chinese drones that had been changed a bit to fit Russian needs. But very soon after, Ukraine started using the same kind of drone. In early January, Ukraine's top commander, Alexander Syrsky, confirmed that Ukraine had started using this kind of technology too. These drones carry a long reel of fiber optic cable, which unrolls while the drone flies. The cable can be as long as 20 kilometers. The drone usually flies close to the ground, so most of the cable stays on the surface and does not hang in the air or get in the way. In addition to being safe from electronic jammers, these drones have another big advantage. They can send much clearer video back to the pilot, which helps in spotting targets and guiding attacks with more accuracy. The video feed doesn't cut out when the drone gets far or goes behind hills, so the operator has a better view of everything, and that makes attacks more accurate. Another benefit is that fiber optic drones can fly lower than normal drones. This helps them stay hidden from radar and anti-air defenses. But they also have some problems. The cable is heavy and reduces how much explosive the drone can carry. For example, the Ukrainian rebuff drone can carry 4 kilograms. But if it flies 10 kilometers and uses a cable that weighs 2.5 kilograms plus a reel that weighs 0.3 kilograms, it can only carry 1.2 kilograms of explosives. These drones also move more slowly and can't turn as fast. If the cable bends too much or gets tangled, it can snap. Pilots need to avoid fast turns because the cable might get caught in the drone's own blades and be cut. Still, these fiber optic cables are stronger than most people think. Right now, they are used only for short distances. Radio-controlled drones can fly as far as 200 kilometers, which is 10 times more than the new fiber drones. But even with that limit, they are powerful tools. Fiber optic drones are changing how this war is being fought. Armored vehicles are in danger now because drones can fly close and blow up in weak spots that armor does not cover. This means tanks and other heavy machines can only be used if they are fully protected from drones. If no one can stop the drones, then the whole area within 20 kilometers becomes a no-go zone for tanks and vehicles. If a peace deal or ceasefire does not come soon, Ukraine's drones might give it a big advantage on the battlefield. For the Ukrainian side, these small flying machines are no longer just helpful tools. They are now one of the most important parts of their military strategy. Because the United States has been unsure about giving more weapons, and Russia has more tanks and big weapons, Ukraine had to come up with its own new ideas. That's why both regular FPV drones and the new fiber optic ones are now being made inside Ukraine. And this isn't just a quick reaction, it's a major step forward built on smart planning and new technology. Many Ukrainian teams are working hard to make better drones that last longer, are more accurate, and easier to produce. Some of these new models are already being mass-produced. This means Ukraine is now less dependent on other countries and is building its own strong drone power. In the months ahead, the quiet sound of these drones in the sky could be the most important sound in deciding who wins this war. Thank you for watching and subscribe to get the latest news that's going on in the world.